Good evening, everyone. It's Metal Mike. Welcome to the first of, I hope, many interviews with a lot of rockers, rappers, musicians of all sorts from across the globe. Tonight, we have Aaron Michaels, musician from Oklahoma and president of Resurrection Records, joining us. Hopefully, he'll be joining us soon. I just appreciate everyone tuning in this evening. So, I've asked a few other musicians to see if they'd be on the show coming up soon. So I will have announcements on those coming up soon as well. If anyone has any questions, just post them in the comments and we'll try to reach those and read those and answer those if we can as the night goes on. We don't look to be going very long, real long, but as long as we're having a discussion, we'll be here. Again, evening. If you're just joining us, I am Metal Mike, founder of Radio Oz. This page has been up almost 7 years, just almost 8 years this August, so 7.5 years at this point. Good evening. If you're just joining us, I am Metal Mike, founder of Radio Oz. This page has been up almost 7 years. Sorry for the feedback there. Yeah, my Facebook, my laptop up, just making sure video is still playing. Hopefully we'll start seeing some visitors soon here. Hope everyone is doing well wherever they may be. We do have followers across every continent except for Antarctica. So there's no telling where we'll see people come in tonight from to visit. It does say you can view stars. I unfortunately do not have that set up yet. Maybe in the near future after I look more into it. But I do love comments and gifts and the like as well. Bear with me. If there's anyone out there, just say hello. Happy to be here this evening with all of you. Anyone out there that's willing to ask me any questions before we get started with Aaron this evening? I'll be glad to answer any of those. There will be a playlist going live this evening too, as well, featuring a bunch of people. Hi, Brad. Welcome to the show. I'm in Louisville, Kentucky. What you're seeing is me in my office. Hope all is for you, Brad, in Oklahoma. Thanks for checking in on my page. I know it's an hour behind where I'm at. I'm in Louisville. It's 7 o'clock, just past 7. I know in Oklahoma it is now 6. So dinner time. Sorry. It's just easier for me to come straight home from work. As well, Brad. Same here. Blessed as well. Oh, thanks, Brad, for inviting the guys from Fairmont. Been a Fairmont fan since Love Life, back when they were on Blind Vinyl. It's a great out. Both of those, that album and the first Fairmont album, two of my first favorite albums back in the early '90s, early to mid '90s. I can't say early '90s, except for Love Life. Good to see guys at Fairmont also working with Thayer and Resurrection Records. That's awesome. Along with multiple other great artists. Who all support what I'm doing here. I'm so grateful for that, more than I can even imagine to tell all of them. I'm not sure where Aaron's at unless we had a miscommunication on the time. I stressed that I was Eastern and he was Central. So I'm hoping that's not the case. I haven't heard from him this afternoon. I did hear from him either late last night or first thing this morning. I cannot remember. So I've worked all day. Bear with me again.
Hey.
Hey.
There it is.
An invite.
Well, I couldn't figure out how to get on, but here I am.
Well, I'm looking for you to show up on my screen as video. There we go. I see you now. Hey.
Sorry about that. I was like, I thought you were going to send me an invite or something.
I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
I sent it about 6:57 my time, so 5:57 your time.
Okay. Well, hey, we're here now.
Well, like I said, you have 5 different pages you're running, just like me. So.
Right. Yes, sir.
Well, welcome to Radio Oz.
Well, hey, man, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it, man.
Hey, this is something I've dreamed of doing, not just with yourself, but for others for years. And life has handed me a big wall of wax over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Since I really wanted to start pushing this. So I'm grateful for all your support as well as others. But you have been a tremendous support for all that through the last 2 years.
Yeah, man, we appreciate your ministry and what you do for not only me, but all the bands at, Resurrection Records, and for all the Christian rock bands out there, man. We appreciate what you do.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, it's like I said, I tell people all the time, I said, this Radio Oz has been around in some form or fashion since the mid 80s. Right. When I was making mixtapes, sharing them with my friends in high school. So,
Yeah.
not to show my age, but
Right.
but that's like Brad was on here inviting the guys from Fear Not. I was a fan of theirs when they were Love Life.
Right.
So back in the late '80s with on Blind Vinyl. So,
Yeah, that
so I've
was
been following that
back
for a while.
before Fear Not, because I think Fear Not started in like '94 or something like that.
93, 94. Yeah. So, but we have a guy who was always an anthem for me. So,
yeah,
still is.
right.
So,
Oh, Brad, what's up, man?
well, I got a couple ideas of what we could discuss here. Just bear with me. This is only my second live with someone. Last week was a professional wrestler. Today's musician. So I'm going to try to do it every other week. I mean, fans of both, trying to run 2 different podcasts on 10 different pages
Right.
by myself.
Well, I bet the professional wrestler had a lot of good stories.
Well, he was promoting a show we had a show we had over the weekend. So
Okay.
I was doing stuff with them for the last 2 years. I've been working with this wrestling company with another podcast, and we have, if you look behind me, you see a wrestling title.
Yeah.
And I also got a Rev shirt on.
That's funny.
So, yeah, but we had our own title at this company for that podcast. So, and that's what's hanging behind me. So, but that's something that was something I wanted to do for years too. So, living the dream at 52, me 53.
Right.
Kids are grown. I can do my own thing now.
There you go. Yeah.
So I was just wanting to get my background, just a basic background, not nothing heavy or deep unless you want to go that route, but a bio of yourself, of who you are, and what got you into music and all that, influences and such like that.
Right. Well, I have a lot of different influences. I have a long story, so I'll try to keep it short. But early on when I was a kid, my parents listened to like Elvis and the Beatles and CCR, that kind of music, and my dad would throw records on the record player, and we would just kind of sit around and be goofy and sing, and I would grab whatever I could that I could make a microphone, and I would sing, and so I was at an early age always trying to perform and sing and things like that. And as I got older, you know I was a little behind, or a little young to like the 80s rock music, but I loved it. And so I had a friend had an older brother, and he listened to like Ozzy and things like that, and then like the hair bands, Bon Jovi and Def Leppard and Poison, and just all those bands from that era. Stryper. Stryper was my very first concert that I went to. It was a Stryper White Lion concert.
Yep, that was me.
Yep. So I knew right then that's what I wanted to do that, and that's I had big dreams of doing that, and so anyway, that's kind of my influences. As the 90s went on, I was a big fan of Pearl Jam and Stone Temple Pilots, Alice in Chains, bands like that, and you're probably thinking, well, there's no Christian bands in this. So, but Stryper was mainstream, so I knew who Stryper was. But I grew up Church of Christ, and so we weren't allowed to play music, in church. And so growing up, I didn't really even know there were bands out there that were Christian bands. I didn't even know who Petra was for a long time. And like I said, I knew Stryper because they were mainstream, and I heard about it on the radio, whatever, and went to the concert. I was like, that's cool, they're singing for God. I was like, that's all right, but so going on to my early 20s or whatever, I don't know if you've ever heard my testimony, but just trying to keep it short. But I got, caught up in doing things I shouldn't have, doing drugs and things like that, and ended up coming up off the road and coming home, and I decided I need to get my life right, and I was raised in church and all that, and I knew everything I was doing was wrong, and but again, long story short, went back home, and a guy invited me to church, and it was a Pentecostal church, and
That's a big difference.
yeah, so for me that was totally different, but the music, I was like, wow, this is awesome, and so at that point I was like, wow, I could be a worship leader, I could play in church and play music, and do all this. And so, that's kind of what got me into Christian music per se. And when I started digging into, musical styles and Christian music, one of the first bands that I ran into was Third Day. And I really loved Mac Powell's voice, and the way he wrote his songs and all that. And, back then I was a Mercy Me fan, Audio Adrenaline, even Skillet, early Skillet, and then I started finding the rock stuff. I was, Disciple and Thousand Foot Crutch, and, there's all these bands that were coming out, back then Pillar was coming out, and all those Spoken, and it's crazy now because now I'm playing with all those guys,
Right.
But back then I was just figuring them out, figuring out who they were and things like that. But yeah, my musical styles, I love Chris Tomlin music. I love worship music too. So I love all kinds of music, but that's kind of some of my background and some of the people that I influences per se, like you said. So
I mean, I just shared God of Miracles with my brother and sister. The whole family, my whole family, if you've noticed on Facebook this recently,
right.
is going through some trials.
Right.
A lot of physical health trials.
Yeah.
And I sent that to both of them, and my brother said it about broke him down.
Well,
give you a testimony back for that. I mean, but
right.
It's so, and I'm not nothing against worship music. It's just certain songs has to grab me inside.
Right.
That's I gravitate to metal because it stepped on my toes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Church music's not going to step on my toes all the time.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, that's the song touched me, and I said that's a slower song for yourself. You go through some of your catalog, and you see that in some of your in your other your other stuff too.
Right.
But that was, like you just said, a Chris Tomlin, that demographic, right, so to speak. If that makes any sense.
Well, I wrote that song. I don't know if you know the meaning behind that song, but I wrote that song for my wife because she struggles with lupus and fibromyalgia, and so she struggles daily with pain and things like that. And so I wrote that song for her because whether she's healed here on earth or whether she's healed in heaven, God is the God of miracles, and He's going to heal her.
Amen. Like I said, we're going through all sorts of struggles on all sides. I mean, my family, my specific family, me, my wife, my children, and then, like I said, nieces, nephews, brother. I mean, it's taking a toll on all of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So from health issues, I mean, we've had a ride this past year and a half. Yeah. Just to say, I'm going into it here because this is not the place for it. This is not what we're talking about. To a point.
Okay.
I mean, you have some great. I mean, do have. You can see it in your music that you have this multitude of influences from your childhood to as you got older. I mean, I was listening to people laugh at me when I say I was listening to Disciple in the '90s and Skillet. They're like, yeah, they've been around for 25 plus years.
Yeah. Back in the Skillet was like techno almost, and and Disciple of a rap rock.
Yeah. Well, they actually started. They had a blues influence on if you listen to their first album. their first full, and then they went to the rap core with My Daddy Will Love Your Daddy, and then you and then you went up through the early 2000s. Everybody was doing rap core, I guess to say irrelevant. I mean, even you was talking about audio, Adrenaline. I mean, they were doing that kind of stuff in the early 90s.
Right. Yeah.
You know, on their first album, which is crazy to think that album's 30 plus years old at this point. And
right.
It's like, where did time go? Oh, yeah, you're 52.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're not getting any younger. We're getting older.
Right. I mean, I met Audio. What was the first time I met Audio? Probably 92.
Oh, yeah.
And probably seen them a dozen times in the 90s, if not more.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that was what I did in the 90s was I shared music. I helped with a couple of radio programs. I volunteered at Christian shows. So I met a who's who of Christian artists in the 90s.
Right.
Everybody from your rockers to somebody like Carmen, rest in peace.
Right.
So I mean, I've been around a while in the Christian scene. So it's not and met, like I said, who's who. So I've seen a lot of good and I've seen a lot of bad, unfortunately.
Yeah. Right.
But I've in the last 5-10 years I've gravitated more to the independent artists like what you're promoting with Resurrection Records. Right. I mean, I'm friends with a few of those artists before you even signed them.
Yeah.
I know one, 3 Days Under, Wade. I mean, Wade came out to this locale, 3 times, I think?
Yeah.
Big Rev came last spring, right after you signed him.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm glad to support all these guys and gals. You know, they're out here hustling it to know, you know, and that's what's always been the case with the. I use the word alternative, but it's not in style. It's not your church one.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
You know, and you're probably seeing that a little bit. I mean, you should probably see a little bit of flack in a sense, even from the church still, which is amazing to me. It's like these guys are reaching the people you're not going to reach on a Sunday morning.
Right.
And, you know, and that's always boggling my mind is why these churches don't look at the heart of these people before they make a judgment call and say, hey, we don't want to support you. We don't want to bring you in or whatever.
Right.
You know, I've talked to multiple artists through the years that are just flabbergasted that the churches won't talk to them, and when they've got just as much sermon. I mean, Chaotic Resemblance is a perfect example of Travis will speak what the Lord leads him to speak.
Yeah,
and one of the best speakers I've seen in decades.
Yeah,
in the music. I mean, great guys, love them all. Rocky too.
Oh yeah, no, they're awesome, man. I've played with them, you know, a few times, and every time, you know, it's, you know, Travis has a word to bring, you know, and he listens to the Holy Spirit and just says what God tells him to say, and I'm proud of those guys, you know, and they're doing a great job. And now I don't know if you knew, but Travis has a podcast on YouTube now, and it's good stuff. So
and that's I mean, that's what I'm saying. But the church, like I said, will not look at these guys, and it blows my mind. It's like they are, to me, they're more on fire than some of these even CCM artists.
Yeah,
you know. I mean,
you know, the thing about it is, you know, I'm not, like I said, I do CCM music too. You know, I do I write whatever song's in my heart.
Right.
And however it comes out, that's how it's going to come out, you know, and but, you know, so I see both sides, you know, and I talk to a lot of, especially rock artists that they can't stand CCM music and CCM artists. I'm like, you know, they're doing what's in their heart, you know,
right.
But I think it's not them themselves. I think it's just the business part of it that gets to them, like, you know, and it's not all CCM artists, but a lot of times, you know, if you go to a CCM show, you know, those artists, you know, you don't see them praying with people. You don't see them, going out and interacting with the crowd. You don't see them, being just real people, and I know some of that's because of their management. They don't let them do stuff or whatever, but, that's what I try to tell people. When you come to a Christian rock show, it's like Pentecost, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a true revival service, and because that's why we're there. Yeah, we're playing some rock music, but we're there to save souls. We're there to reach the lost, and we're the ones that are in the trenches. We're the ones that go out for, little to no money, or love offerings, because it's more than just the music. We're out there to save people from hell.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't understand unless you've seen it for yourself. But like you said, churches don't want to bring bands like that in because, whatever reason. I don't know what the reason is. It's too loud. They don't like what they look like. They don't like tattoos. They don't like long hair. I don't know, But, I mean, all through the Bible, it says, who are you to judge? Throw the cast the first stone, But, I mean, that's just the world, But it is disappointing, though, sometimes. But, we talk about this all the time on our little group me thread that we have with the label, that God has called us to be different. God has called us to do the kind of music that we do, and
Right.
that's what we're called to do. That's our anointing, and that's what we do. And so
Well, I mean,
it's not going to be for everybody,
then I get, and I understand that completely. I mean, I get flack at my end because since I do both Christian and secular together on this page,
Right.
people are like, why are you doing the secular? Well, guess what? I'm trying to reach somebody that the
Right.
church is not going to reach.
Yeah.
My mixtapes I made in the 80s had Striper next to Slayer.
Right.
Vengeance
Yeah.
Rising, or, something
Yeah.
comparable to what that person would be listening to.
Right.
How am I going to reach? I mean, even if it was, I always tell people, you take that little bit of music and the lyrics are there. They might not be paying attention fully to the lyrics, but there's a mustard seed or a seed planted in their brain. Hey, that's some killer music. Let me go. Who is that? Oh, let me go check them out, and they get fed.
Right. Yeah. And sometimes, honestly, they get fed and don't even know it.
Exactly.
Or
Exactly.
that seed,
Yeah.
and in their brain, and that positiveness and that message, and they may not even know they're getting it. So
Exactly. And that's, I mean, you'll go look at the playlist I'm posting later tonight. I've had it done for a few days, beginning most of it,
right.
and I had the time to do it because with the wrestling show on Sunday took longer than I thought.
Yeah.
Just worked all by myself yesterday.
Right.
But it's got some secular stuff in there, and I always warn people there might be some language in there, but these people support me. I'm going to support them. But guess what? This next artist next to him might be somebody that's going to plant that seed still. And these guys know it.
Yeah.
They still know what I'm all about.
Yeah.
They want their music out just like the Christian artist does.
Yeah.
And the only way sometimes they can get it is with the support. I mean, I've got fans on every continent but Antarctica. I mean, I never imagined that.
Right.
8 years ago when I started this page. I'm like, this is cool. Yeah. But like you said, I take the word, I mean, I understand where everybody says it's my ministry. I get that.
Yeah.
But if I keep using the word ministry, it might scare somebody off.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to use that word. It's a strong word. I mean, I respect it, and I understand what you're saying, because like I said, I hear it all the time. Everybody's like, after I explain myself, everybody's like, oh, it's your ministry. To you, it's my ministry. To me, it's my outreach.
Right. Yeah.
But anyways, going back to, we were talking about your label.
Right.
Resurrection Records has been around just at a year, give or take.
A year and
probably been longer in your brain somewhere, saying, hey, God's leading you somewhere, but you didn't know where.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about Resurrection Records.
Well, like you said, we started it up last January. The idea, I was contacting people at the beginning of 2020 or the end of 2023, knowing that I was going to start, the record label in 2024. So, but we ended up with 11 artists. We had 9 rock artists and 3 Christian rappers. And, I stopped at that number, and, that whole year did really well. And I think out of the 11, or no, it's 12. We had 12.
Yep.
So 9 and 3. And out of those 12, I think 9 of those artists charted on national charts, and just did, amazing things, and ended up at some great festivals, and just did their thing, and so at the end of last year, I was just praying, God, do you want this to continue to grow? What, just lead me to what you want me to do. And, after praying about that for a couple of months, I just felt released to go ahead and continue to grow this year. And, God just keeps, blessing me with people, to help me with what I'm doing. I've worked with Jen Lamaris with Lamaris Promotions, which she was with Rockfest Records for several years, worked with them, and kind of went out on her own to, kind of start her own promotion company and things like that. But she does a great job. And last year we worked with Mary Nickel, doing some press releases and things like that. And since then, I'm even, I think this year, going to hire one more person to help out, and just doing some things, making phone calls, sending emails and things like that. But, we're up to 19 artists now. And, we've signed some bands and artists that have been around. Like you said, we signed Fear Not, we signed The Brave. We signed Devin Williams, that's been around a long time, and just doing great things. And we have a couple more on the table right now. And I'm not necessarily taking on any more, but I do have 2 or 3 other ones that I'm still talking to, that we might sign. But like I said, God just continues to bless it. And, I think, a year into it, that people realize what we're about now. They know when you get a Resurrection Records artist, what you're getting. And, not only are you going to get a great band or a great artist with a great heart, but you're going to get ministry with it, and, so, and that's really important to me, is the ministry part of it, and whether we're playing in a bar, or whether we're playing, at a Christian festival, or whether we're playing at a church, our intent is always going to be the same, and that's to plant a seed, and how we do that might change, where we're at. But I think, especially when you go into a club or a bar, you don't have to change who you are, but you might have to change how you relay the message a bit.
Well, and that's what I do.
Right. And so, that's just what we're about, man. We're about loving people and giving people hope and forgiveness, and, showing them the love of Christ, and how they can have that if they don't have it. And, that continues to be our mission, So, but it's going great, man. It's going really well.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, I've paid attention this past year to a lot of artists I never heard of. Like I said, I've heard probably a third of the artists originally out of the 19,
Right.
And to find the other 2/3 has been awesome. Finding, like I said, because I mean, with the scene being completely different than when we were first. I mean, even when we both were getting in it at different times, but you had magazines, you had bookstores you could walk into.
Yeah.
I live in Louisville, Kentucky, a large metropolitan area. There's not a bookstore to be found, a Christian bookstore.
Right.
No, we don't have Baptist. We don't have Zondervan or any of the big names from back in the day. We don't have, you walk in, the only bookstores we have is Half Price Books and Barnes and Noble, and that's it.
Yeah.
So to find a Christian, I mean, no, hardly anybody's buying. I buy CDs. I mean, you look behind me, I got a couple thousand CDs just behind me,
Right.
and trade. But you don't find music without somebody either creating a Spotify a playlist like I do,
Right.
or I mean, internet radio's hit and miss. We both know that. I mean, we got some great stations out there with shows. You know, I mean, I've kept up with them, following a lot of those guys just to get some ideas.
Right.
They share my stuff, I share their stuff. Let's work as a team.
Right.
You know, but the only way you're going to hear the music is by, like I said, somebody sharing it somewhere on social media anymore.
Yeah.
Be it a TikTok video, because that's what's making even music on a normal secular radio.
Right.
Hits.
Yeah.
Is TikTok videos.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you look at the top 10 out of the last year, it was in a TikTok video at some point.
Yeah.
That made it get there.
Yeah. I've here lately had to try to make myself do TikToks. I'm not a big TikTok fan, but you know, my kids know more about it than I do. But we're trying to do, you know, some TikTok stuff and get on there a little more. But you know, I know there was a guy that, you know, we played with him. Oh man, it was probably 3-4 years ago. It was in Missouri. It's called Jesus Fest, and met a lot of the artists there at that festival. But there was one guy, his name is Rare Breed, and he was there and met him. His merch table was right next to mine, and got to know him a little bit. But I noticed, I don't know if it was just this past year or maybe the past couple of years, but he just blew up. I mean, he's got millions of followers now, and he blew up on TikTok. Yeah. You know. So,
well, I mean, you look at
happy.
I mean, right. I mean, what's amazing to me right now is we're seeing, was it Brandon Weeks that's doing the big song with Jelly Roll?
Brandon Lake.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I don't listen to that kind of music, so.
Right.
But like I said, and I'm not a big Jelly Roll fan. I mean, I've seen Jelly Roll in concert because of a festival, right. But it's nothing that didn't grab me. But it's like, that's the same kind of stuff we're talking about. You're going to reach somebody a different way, right. Or something like that. I'm not going to diss it at all.
Right.
And Jelly Roll's sitting up there talking to these kids at these detention centers for them. That just blows my mind that an artist that's a big name artist would step down and do something like that. That's amazing.
Right.
You know, but like I said, it's just, the music scene is so hard, and that's why I feel for Christian art, rock, rappers, and more, because the scene is not what it was when we were getting into it. You know, when you were getting into it in your early 20s or whatever, you can see that shift. Right. You know, and like I said, I couldn't tell you what the kids are listening to that are the Christian artists in churches anymore, because back in our day, we had audio, we had DC Talk, we had, and Skillet was just starting. You know, you had the Tooth and Nail label, which had the punk and all that.
Right.
But now, what are they? They're listening to everything I know that they're listening to is something secular. Right. So I'm still trying to find them something that's going to be comparable to what they're listening to.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so I'm glad to see what you're doing. I respect it. I love it. I want more of it. You know, Tim McGraw would say, I like it. I love it. I want some more of it.
Right. Yeah, that should be a song.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I want to thank you for myself, the artists that you've introduced me to the last couple of years. I mean, I was introduced to you by 13 Minutes. I think that's through Jamie and crew back a few years back. That's how I found out about you before you joined them briefly.
Right.
I mean, so when I got the hints that you were joining, I was like, oh, this. And after, I mean, I've seen listened to some of your stuff before then. It's like, this is going to be an interesting mix. And when I seen it worked for a little while there, but I think God, you need to do somewhere else, and that's where you went. You know, I mean,
Right.
Jamie's doing good with Jared and the gang.
Right.
Glad to see they're doing great things still. I mean, I've been a fan of theirs since what 2016, I think. Found them through Mary Did You Know,
Right.
which was everybody laughs when I'm like, huh? It's like, yeah, they released a rock version of that before most everybody else
Right.
did.
Right.
Before Spoken did, before a couple of harder bands
Right.
did it too.
Right.
And I met Mark Lowry years ago, and that's when he was doing stand up, and I was like, and then that came out, and I'm like, is this the same person?
Right. You can actually sing.
He can actually sing. He can actually write a real song.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah,
So
my artist on Resurrection, Trey Tate, he actually did a version of that this year on our
yep,
Christmas side.
yep. I put that on my
Right.
Christmas mix this past year. So
Yeah. I thought they did a great job with
yeah,
it. And Jermaine from Tricord, I think, was on there, and
yeah. There was a couple of them, different people.
there too. So yeah.
But Christmas music is normally not my thing, unless it's a rock song.
Right.
Just I worked retail for 25 years. I heard every Christmas song you can imagine 20 times a day, or the same, maybe a different artist, but the same song.
Got time.
So,
Yeah.
well, I appreciate you. We've been on here for about 40 minutes. That's should be plenty of time tonight for my first trial. I appreciate you again. Thanks everyone for dropping in with us. We've had guys from different bands drop in. Looks like we had Stain Red drop in. We had Larry Worley from Free or Not. We had Sherry Brennan, wife of one of the guys in I Against No One. So Brad Buell, I guess, or Bull.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say it. So I apologize, Brad.
What's up?
So he dropped. So
Well, good deal.
So, and I'll be sharing this later on my YouTube channel, which is Radio Oz with Metal Mike on YouTube. And my TikTok, going back to TikTok, I will upload it on TikTok since Facebook will delete it after 30 days for a live video. So I have to upload it again back to Facebook.
Right.
Aaron, you want to share all your contact information?
Yeah, sure, man. You can, go to Spotify, iTunes, wherever you stream your music, I'm there. You can go to AaronMichaelsOfficial.com. That's my website. You can also go to ResurrectionRecordsOfficial.com if you want to go see all the Resurrection Records artists. I am on Instagram and TikTok. I'm not on there a whole lot, but I do have accounts there, and I'm there every now and then, but mainly on Facebook. And but yeah, that's about it. So just keep looking at the website. I'll post. We've got some shows starting to come in, around April and May, and so we'll start posting those. And as we get more festivals and things, we'll post that. So we're hoping to get in the Northeast this year sometime. So we are doing our first Resurrection Fest in San Antonio, Texas, and that's going to be in May. And we're hoping to do at least 4 or 5 of those. I know we're going to do one hopefully in the Ohio area, Kentucky area, Georgia, Florida area probably. And then I think they're going to do some up in Michigan. So anyway, just be looking. We might be in your town, or close to your town soon. And it may not be all of us, but it'll be, about anywhere from 5 to 6 Resurrection bands playing at a Resurrection Fest somewhere near you very soon. So
hopefully here in Louisville or somewhere reasonably close, because typically I don't have more than an hour for a show, unfortunately.
How far is Ashland, Kentucky?
2.5 hours.
Okay, because that's where 3 Days Under is from. And
great guys.
I actually
love them.
That Devin Williams is from there too, from Ashland. So he's in Nashville now, but he was in Ashland for.
I met Devin last fall. Great guy.
Yeah, he is, man. But just to give a little shout out, you talked about B. Wade earlier. His first single's coming out this Friday. So it's called I'm Through Running, and it's got a great testimony behind it. Great songs.
His testimony's pretty strong too.
Yeah,
Love his love the dude too. He's been supporting me for a few years myself. So him, 3 Days Under. 3 Days Under is probably one of my biggest supporters in the last couple of years. There's Bobby. Bobby's on now.
Is
Talking
it?
about it.
All right.
Yeah.
Speak of the devil, huh?
Yeah. I didn't want to say that because that didn't come off. I didn't want that to come across wrong. But yeah, that's the old saying. Speaking of the devil, they show up.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But no,
Bobby's a great dude. I love Bobby. Missing. He hasn't been back this way in a while, but yeah, I've seen Bobby three times, I think. I've seen
yeah.
Bobby 3 times. I've seen 3 Days Under 3 or 4 times.
Awesome.
Kevin Williams once. Big Rev, like I said, once last spring, which was great. He prayed with my son. That was awesome.
Wade and Big Red be at Arkansas, I think at the Good Fight this Sunday. So if you're in the Arkansas area, go check that out.
Yeah. Well, I'll be posting this again later, so hopefully more people will see it. I had a good response to my wrestling one, so hopefully we'll have a great response to this one. So I almost positively will, because all the bands have been sharing the lead up. So
right, yeah. Well, man, I just want to say before we get off, thank you so much for what you do. And I know I'm speaking for all the bands, but we appreciate your support and what you're doing. And we couldn't do any of this without people like you. So thank you for having me on your show tonight, and I've enjoyed it. Sorry I was late.
That's all right.
But I've had a great time, man. It's good talking to you.
Well, thank you. And now Big Rev shows up.
little late, but hey, better late than never, right?
Exactly. Yes. All right. Well, everybody have a great evening. We'll speak up soon. Rock on.
Good.
Thank you.